flow isn't just an idea. It is a fact. It is reality. Nothing happens or is experienced outside the flow. Nothing is independent. Nothing can be done differently than how the flow would have it done. Options do not exist outside the reality of the flow, and any option chosen within the flow is of the flow. Being of the flow, it is of perfect oneness and made in complete agreement. In this way, it is beyond the possibility of judgment. All judgment imagines independent options from outside the flow. Well, of course, for me, the best way to imagine or to picture what what God is talking about here, I'm laughing, I changed it to God because the word that came to my mind was Jehovah, which of course is the name for God. So the word that came to my mind was what Jehovah is talking about here. Oh, wait, Cheryl just posted something. Yes, it is I am that I am. So really, it's a perfectly cool name, don't you think, Jehovah? I'm so grateful that it popped into my mind, although I never use it. So I am that I am. Our oneness, our isness is where this message came from. All right. So the way that is helpful for me to imagine or picture what Jehovah is saying is when I think of something like a computer game. Probably one thing many of you don't know is that one thing that I used to do for a living before I got onto this spiritual path was I was a corporate trainer. And a part of what I did as a corporate trainer was computer-based training. And often I created scenario training, which would mean I would write a story. Maybe it's a story to teach managers how to manage people. And I would write a story with different options in it. For example, a manager might be having a counseling session with an employee. And I would, they would be watching this like movie. And then we'd come to a point in the movie where it would stop. And I would give the student who was watching the movie the opportunity to choose what they would say to the employee next as they're playing the role of manager. And they might be able to pick A, B, C, or D. They might have 4 options. Based on what they would choose, the movie would then continue, right? And they would get a certain reaction out of the employee, and things would go off in a certain direction. And these computer scenario, these training scenarios, could get quite complex. So there were all kinds of things that could happen. There were things that could go wrong, and then the manager could realize, wow, I've made an error. But then when the next choice came along, could make a smarter choice and get things moving back in the right direction again. It was a great way to learn, and anything could happen, and it wasn't necessarily the same, when 3 different people went through it, right? They'd have 3 different experiences. But what they could not do is make a choice or have an experience that was outside of the computer program that we designed for them. There was no way. They were absolutely limited to what was pre-written, even though there were many choices and directions to go. We're all familiar with the term from A Course in Miracles, the script is written. Well, this is really the same idea that Jehovah is pointing to in this particular message. I am that I am, right? Our script is written. Now when we get to the code, which is a message that's going to come later, we're going to learn more about that, about how it is written. But for now, we're just going to go with the script is written. And the way those options come to me, remember I said in the training scenario, it may show up on the screen. Now you can say this to the employee, A, B, C, or D, and the manager student would pick. Well, you get those same options. You may get 2 options, you may get 20 options. And those options show up as your thoughts. Your thoughts show up. And your thoughts give you ideas on what you can say or what you can do. It might even provide the idea to do nothing. And based on what you choose, right, the scenario runs off in a specific direction. But what is very, very interesting if you think about it, just think about it for a second, you really can't step outside the game. There's no way that you can make a choice if the option is not provided to you, right? If there is no thought whatsoever to suddenly sit down, for example, you're not going to suddenly sit down. So you really are provided a limited set of options. And those options come from our oneness. Yeah, Wayne is calling it a closed system. When you perceive yourself as independent, you may perceive those thoughts as your thoughts. And so you may also perceive that the options are yours, right, that you made them, you alone as an individual, an independent individual. And you may also perceive that you can be guilty for those options and for the option that you choose. But if you can accept what we are being taught here, that the options that come into your mind actually come from our oneness, and no matter which option you choose, there's some level of agreement, right? It's playing a game. Then you'll see how you can never ever be guilty. There's not the possibility of independently making a choice. It does not exist because the choices themselves come from our oneness, right? The choices themselves come from our oneness. So if you suddenly get upset at someone and start yelling at them, right, that is just an option that was provided within the closed system, and you chose that option, and now the scenario is going to go off in a certain direction, right? Now, it is true that because there are multiple options, and because there are options that come to the mind from the ego, which would be our unified decision to have an experience that is different than truth, and because there may be options that are provided by the Holy Spirit, which is coming from our unified remembrance of our truth, our unified decision to heal, you do have options that could move you towards peace, move you towards healing, and options that move you further from it. But there are not options that are outside of what's provided by our oneness. So judgment, the idea that I am guilty for making this choice, or you are guilty for making that choice, is just imagination. It's literally imagination. It's pretending that you or I could do something all by ourselves, independent of the whole. And that's not possible. All right? So let me read this top paragraph again. The first paragraph in black. The flow isn't just an idea. It is a fact. It is reality. Nothing happens or is experienced outside the flow. Nothing is independent. Nothing can be done differently than how the flow would have it done. Options do not exist outside the reality of the flow, and any option chosen within the flow is of the flow. Being of the flow, it is of perfect oneness and made in complete agreement. In this way, it is beyond the possibility of judgment. All judgment imagines independent options from outside the flow. So you see, all judgment is just an error. All right, let's go on to the next paragraph. The flow is most useful to you, Regina, right now, as a means of seeing clearly that you are only perfect love. You judge yourself whenever you feel you are less than perfect, when you feel you are not the perfect expression of love. A state that is not perfect love, created through perfect oneness, cannot exist. You ready? A state that is not perfect love, created through perfect oneness, cannot exist. It is literally impossible. Every moment is perfection. You, as you perceive yourself, are the perfect result of every perfect moment. Now,